during this blessed month of Ramadan. And despite not being able to meet each other face to face or have access to our beloved masjid, we hope to keep the spirit of Ramadan alive with our online activities. Tonight we have the pleasure of our very own Shaykh Abdullah Hasan, who is an experienced qualified Imam and trained counsellor with a niche interest in zakat. But tonight he'll be talking about preparation for Ramadan, inshallah.
Ultimately heated by the sun. And the word Ramda in the Arabic language means the intense heat of the sun. And the Arab, they used to say about the sheep, they were burned, ramidat, while they were gazing under the scorching heat of the sun. And the scholars mentioned Ramadan was named as such because it burns the sins of the believers. And Imam al-Zamakhshari, a famous commentator of the hadith, famous commentator of the Quran, he mentioned لما نقلوا أسماء الشهور عن اللغة القديمة سموها بأزمنة التي وقعت فيها فوافق هذا الشهر أيام الرمز الحر فسمي رمضان. He says that when they changed the names of the months from the ancient language, they named them according to the season in which they fell. And this month, i.e. the month of Ramadan, fell in the days of intense heat, and that is why it was named Ramadan. And Imam al-Qurtubi, a very famous commentator of the Quran, he mentions that he said, إنما سمي رمضان لأنه يرمض الذنوب أو يحرقها بأعمال الصالحة. That it is the month of Ramadan was named Ramadan because it burns the sins of people with righteous deeds. And how does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala burn the sins of the believers during the month of Ramadan? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned numerous hadith. And he welcomed the month of Ramadan. He mentioned in Bukhari and other collections that our deeds in the month of Ramadan are multiplied, 10 times, 70 times, 700 times. Wallahu yudaifu liman yasha. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he increases in the rewards and the benefits however he wishes, right? So that is why one deed that we do will be multiplied. One deed, normally if we do a deed, we'll get a reward. But in the month of Ramadan, when we perform a good deed, right, that deed will be multiplied 10 times to 70 times to 700 times, even more. The Prophet Muhammad said in a hadith narrated by Ibn Khuzaymah, which is authentic hadith, he says, whoever draws near to Allah by performing any of the optional good deeds in this month, i.e. month of Ramadan, shall receive the same reward as performing an obligatory deed at any other time. Can you imagine this? Right. Whoever performs a deed, not an obligatory deed, but any deed which is good in Islam, that he or she will receive the rewards of as if that he or she has performed an obligatory deed other than the month of Ramadan. Yeah. And whoever discharges an obligatory deed in this month shall receive the reward of performing 70 obligations at any other time. So when we perform an obligation, we will receive the reward of 70 obligations performed other than the month of Ramadan. So, and there are numerous hadith, numerous authentic statements from the Prophet Muhammad regarding this, that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies the deeds, saying subhanallah, alhamdulillah, basic rituals or basic deeds that we could do, even dhikr, other than the month of Ramadan is very, very rewarding, but in the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies it. And we know that the month of Ramadan is the month of the Quran. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات الهدى. The month of Ramadan is a month in which the Quran was revealed. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran in the month of Ramadan as a guidance and a criterion for the mankind. Whoever فَمَنْ شَهِدَ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ, whoever witnesses the month of Ramadan, then he or she should observe the fast of Ramadan. And the month of Ramadan, as I say, is the month of the Quran. We are encouraged to recite the Quran to the best of our ability as much as we can. Unfortunately, Taraweeh will not be performed in the masajid. Many of us go to Taraweeh and we complete the recitation with the Imam of the Quran in Taraweeh. But unfortunately, we cannot do this during this month. So we are advised and recommended to read the Quran, recite the Quran every single day as much as we can. We are encouraged to pray Taraweeh by ourselves, with our family members. And even, if we are not able to recite the Quran, meaning we have not memorized a large portion of the Quran, we are allowed to, according to many scholars, even hold the Mus'haf on our hands without having too many movements, or our phones, our iPhones or whatever other phones, Android phones we have. We've got the Quran apps, and we can look at the Quran and recite it if we have not memorized a good number of verses or surahs in the Quran. So in this month of Ramadan, we must utilize our time to benefit from the Quran, get attached to the Quran, become a companion of the Quran, because the Quran will be a light for us on the day of judgment. Quran will be a light for us on the day of judgment. It will be a companion, it will be an intercessor for us on the day of judgment. That's number one, recite the Quran, learn the Quran. Not just reciting, by the way, but understanding the meanings of the Quran. Some people might recite it, but without understanding it. But if we have the opportunity and we understand English and we understand other languages, the Quran has been translated in many different languages, alhamdulillah, we should take benefit and read the meanings, the translations of the Quran. There are many tafsir books out there in English also. Read the tafsir of the Quran. So not only do we recite the Quran in the month of Ramadan, but we also understand the meaning of the Quran. And as I said, we're not able to go to the mosque. We're not able to perform Taraweeh. They say, everyone all over the world, all Muslims, they look forward to the Taraweeh, right? And some people might be somewhat despondent, sad, in fact, because we're not able to pray Ramadan. And one of the things that I would really highlight and emphasize and remind everyone is that, by not going to the mosque and by protecting ourselves and protecting our family members, protecting the society at large, to stop the virus being spread, we are in fact obeying God Almighty. We are obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people think that, we are disobeying Allah because we're not going to the mosque and we are sinning. No, we are actually obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, when a plague spread during the time of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, a companion, he said, do not enter that land where the plague is, or do not go to that land, and those who are inside that land, they must not get out of that land. And one of the companions, he said, are you afraid, or are you fleeing from the qadr of Allah, the predestination of God? And he said, no, I'm not. I am fleeing from the qadr of Allah to the qadr of Allah. Yeah, so he was not disobeying God. No one will disobey God by not going to the mosque, but we will be obeying God by not going to the mosque and doing as much as we can in our houses with our family members on our own. So increasing the recitation of the Quran. And every letter that we read, that we multiplied and multiplied and multiplied, right? Can you imagine that every letter that we, and the Prophet said, we said every letter, not word, but letter, alif, lam, mim, right? Alif, lam, mim are 3 letters. And all the letters of Surah Fatiha, Surah Baqarah, every time we recite it, we get the reward. Can you imagine, imagine this, such a blessed month, right? And human beings, we view things from a materialistic perspective. Imagine someone were to say, I will give you for every page or every word that you read from a book. It can be any book, Harry Potter book or anything, right? But every word that you read, I'll give you £1. You read a book, which 300-page book, you'll be making a lot of money. Similarly, God is saying that every letter that you recite, it's not about pounds, it's not about £10 or £50. You'll be building yourself mansions and castles and houses in paradise. So Ramadan is a marketplace. It's an open marketplace for good deeds. Open marketplace. No one can stop you. In fact, the Prophet Muhammad said that إذا جاء Ramadan, when the Ramadan comes, right? فتحت أبواب الجنة. That the gates of paradise are wide open. The gates of paradise are wide open, meaning the mercy of God is all encompassing. More in the month of Ramadan. وصفت الشياطين, right? وغلقت أبواب النيران. And the gates of hellfire are closed, and the shayateen are chained up. The shayateen, our devils, are chained up. So we are more prone to do good deeds. We are more prone to spirituality in the month of Ramadan. This is how we burn the sins. And who has not sinned on this webinar? You know, if you ask us, if we ask ourselves, you know, did we sin the last day or last year? All of us will say that we have sinned. So through the month of Ramadan, Ramadan is a purification, month of purification, a month of cleansing, yeah, a month in which we recharge our spiritual batteries, so that we can worship, we can be spiritually flexed, as they say, not physically but also spiritually flexed, so we can obey God throughout the year, inshallah. So recite the Quran, learn the meaning of the Quran, understand the meaning of the Quran, read tafsir and read the translation of the Quran. The second thing that we can do in the month of Ramadan is charity. The Prophet Muhammad said, well, it was described about the Prophet ﷺ, that in the month of Ramadan he would give in charity like the wind, right? That the wind will flow, meaning that, you know, his charity touched everyone. You imagine that when he would give charity, his charity would touch everyone. Everyone will benefit from his charity. So in the month of Ramadan, you know, obviously we have to pay our zakah, and hopefully we will do a webinar on zakah later on. But general sadaqah, especially during this time when many people are losing their jobs, many people in the UK and outside, they're confined in their own houses. They're not able to go out and work. People are not able to, you know, even buy the basic necessities, buy bread and rice and flour, oil to cook. So our charity, although it's charity, general charity, not obligation, but if we do it, we'll get the rewards as if we are performing an obligation. And when you pay in charity, when you give in charity, you might look at this. When you give in charity, especially during Ramadan, especially during this time, and you feed a person, you help a project, you feed a person, and that person lives, you have saved the life of that person. And the Quran says that whoever saves a life, it is as if that he or she has saved the lives of the whole humanity. And saving the whole of humanity, you can't measure. There's no calculator, there is no machine, there's no computer to measure the reward that we will be accumulating for ourselves in the month for the hereafter, in the month of Ramadan. So give in charity, and charity is by helping people financially, right? Whether it be your mosque, your local mosque, and many mosques, you know, they're in desperate need now because of the closures, because of the pandemic. So give now. And we may think that, okay, we may worry, what's going to happen here? Am I going to lose my job? You know, will there be a recession? You know, but the companions and the Prophet, they were always in recession. They were always in recession, you know, by our standards, definitely. But they still gave. When the Prophet said, give in the way of Allah to build a mosque, they gave. When the Prophet said, give for a poor and the orphan and the needy, they gave. Some of them sold their houses, some of them sold their merchandise, some of them sold their own clothes, some of them sold their own utensils to give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because they understood that as long as they have their bare necessities, and if they can give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will build themselves houses and mansions and dominion, right? 10 times the minimum 10 times the size of the whole entire earth. So this is how the Sahabas were smart, right? They were very, very smart for the hereafter. They were very, very wise and prudent when it came to the hereafter. So give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can. Like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I know that ma naqasa min malin sadaqa. The Prophet said that giving in charity will not diminish or decrease your wealth. It will only increase your wealth. It will purify yourself, purify your wealth. And we know there are many benefits, spiritual, even I would say, and I'm not giving medical advice, physical benefits. You know, I think I mentioned this at the call. Once I was, you know, a very, very, can I say, anxious about something, and my heart was pounding, right? Very, you know, a lot. And I could not sleep. I could not do a lot of things, right? Even my family members don't know about this. I got up, I went outside, and I gave to charity. I sponsored an orphan. I sponsored an orphan. As soon as I made that transaction with the charity, as soon as I gave, you would not believe it, brothers and sisters. It felt like a ton of brick, a ton was a burden lifted from my shoulder. I felt peaceful. I felt at ease. I felt repose. I felt solace. I felt tranquility. I was able to carry on normally, and I was able to eat and drink and sleep and study and do other things. So it can have psychological benefits, it can have physical benefits, it can have, obviously has spiritual benefits. So give in the way of Allah. Give, the Prophet said, with your right hand that your left hand does not know what you have given. So give and give and give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next thing that we should do, there's so many things that we could, I'm just giving you some reminders, if you like, is increase in your dua, increase in your supplication. In the month of Ramadan, the Prophet Muhammad said, our du'as, our supplications are answered while we are fasting. In the month of Ramadan, this is more important than when we are fasting and we are observing, obeying God's commandments. We raise our hands and we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just, you know, cry your heart out, plead, right? Go, you know, we don't have to publicize it, right? Not have to, but you shouldn't publicize it, obviously. Whatever you need, whatever you desire, right? In particular, you know, we'll probably discuss in the future about Laylatul Qadr, right? About that odd night that our deeds are recorded. What will happen to us in the coming year is recorded. And that particular night, it is as if they were worshiping Allah for 83 years. This is the blessing of Ramadan, right? This is the blessing of Ramadan that no other ummah, no other nation, no other people had except for the ummah of An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And when you're making dua, be thankful, right? How many have we thanked God today? Have we thanked God during this pandemic? I hear a lot of people complaining. I hear a lot of people, you know, always, you know, arguing and debating, complaining. But how many times have we thanked other people and thanked God and thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Islam, for Iman? So give thanks, right? Say Alhamdulillah, right? Help others, right? Give thanks to others who are helping, and give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has enabled you to still live. He has enabled you to breathe. He has given you health. He has given you children. He has given you wealth. He has given you life. So thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you are making the dua. And also in that regard, send abundant salutations upon An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Don't forget every Friday by the month of Ramadan, send abundant salutations upon Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So get close to the Quran, number one, understand the meaning of the Quran, read translation of the Quran, read the tafsirs, give in charity. Obviously, you have to pay your zakah, but generally give in charity, sponsor orphans, help your local mosque, right? Help the poor and the needy in the UK and also abroad. And thirdly, increase in dua supplication. It is stated that dua is the weapon of the believer. Whatever you want, whatever you need, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And finally, there are numerous hadith that we can talk about. In one hadith in Bukhari, the Prophet came inside the mosque, and he went up on the minbar, and he said, Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. And the long hadith, but the last occasion he didn't say it. And the companion asked him what happened, right? And he said, may he be cursed, is the one who approaches Ramadan or goes for Ramadan and he does not benefit from the month of Ramadan. For those who are not spending wisely the time in the month of Ramadan, they're not reading the Quran, they're not reading books of benefit, they're not giving charity, they're not doing the good deeds, right? There are many millions and zillions of people who've left us, right? Millions and zillions of people who are not believers, but if they knew the rewards of Ramadan, they would want to fight for this particular occasion. So the Prophet said that those who come to month of Ramadan, who approach month of Ramadan, who go through Ramadan without doing any good, right, that person will be cursed. So this is a warning from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So let us take benefit, inshallah. Let us increase in our good deeds. And alhamdulillah, most people will start Ramadan tomorrow. Some people in the UK and elsewhere, they will start on Saturday. Alhamdulillah, we have entered the month of Ramadan. We have entered the auspicious time of the month of Ramadan. Now it starts. Whatever we do now while we're talking, our deeds will be multiplied. And even when we are sleeping, look at the mercy of beauty of Islam. Even while we are sleeping, right, in the month of Ramadan and outside, and we make the intention that we want to wake up and serve God, we'll get the rewards while we are sleeping. How amazing is that? How amazing is that while we are sleeping, the same way that Jeff Bezos, while he's sleeping, he earns hundreds of millions of pounds, right? Similarly, obviously, what he earns is nothing compared to what we will earn for our good deeds for the hereafter. Nothing compares. So while we are sleeping, while we are resting, for the right intention, we will get the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower everyone with his kindness and generosity. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala embrace all of us with his infinite forgiveness and infinite mercy. With this, inshallah, I'll stop and I'll take any questions that you may have, and hopefully, inshallah, I may be able to clarify.
Jazakallah, Shaykh. Just while we're waiting for questions to perhaps come through on the chat, just a couple of things from myself. Firstly, apologies everyone for the technical glitches we had at the start. It's all new to us, and a couple of extra things we were trying to initiate with YouTube, etc. So apologies for that. Secondly, as I said, whilst we're waiting for questions to come through, after Shaykh completes with his dua, we'll be playing a short animation which includes the details of our Ramadan donation appeal. So please do stay tuned for that. Take down the details, and please donate generously, especially during this time where the masjid's shut and we don't have the benefit of our Jummah collections. We look forward to your generosity, inshallah. So I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat screen. Give participants a little more time. Shaykh, just while you're there, my question for me, just on zakat. So I know zakat's your specialist subject, and I know that you'll probably be speaking about this in more detail, inshallah, later on in the month. But generally, when is the correct time to pay zakat?
Okay, good question. As you said, I think we have a zakat webinar next Thursday, I believe. So we'll be covering in detail how to calculate a zakah. So in terms of the question you posed, Brother Amir, is when do we pay our zakah? Many people, they want to pay the zakah in the month of Ramadan. That's the normal thing that many people do. However, what many people are not aware of is that a person may be liable to pay zakah outside the month of Ramadan. So I'll give you a basic example. Every year in the UK, whether we are, if we're working self-employed, for example, as an example, then we have to do our self-assessment, and we have to do that, I think, by April or before the end of April, right? That's the date that the government had chosen because of whatever reason. Similarly, we individually have a zakah anniversary date. Yeah, like a date that we have for our birthday. We know when our birthday is. We celebrate our birthday. We know when we got married and we have wedding anniversaries. Similarly, we have a zakah anniversary. The day every year on that particular date that we have to pay a zakah. How do you work that out? So you go back. If you don't know your zakah anniversary, you go back. The very first time you became sahib al-nisab, you had sufficient amount of wealth for you to become zakah liable. Yeah, you go back. It can be 1 year, it can be 2 years, it can be 5 years, it can be 10 years. If you can't pinpoint, if you can't be approximate, then you can estimate. You can guess. Say, as an example, say today, as an example, for the very first time, I've worked last month, and today, at the 1st of Ramadan, or tomorrow, 1st of Ramadan, I became owner of sufficient amount of wealth, right? 1st of Ramadan is my zakah date now, right? But because today is my very first time that I've become sahib al-nisab, I don't pay zakah today. I wait 1 year, and this time next year, if I have sufficient amount of wealth, I pay my zakah. And that date, 1st of Ramadan, every year is my zakah date. Every year is my zakah date. So for some people, they probably became sahib al-nisab or owner of sufficient amount of wealth in the month of Muharram. You have to go by the lunar calendar. Month of Muharram, for example. So their zakah date is the month of Muharram. Some others could be Shawwal or Dhul Qa'dah, right? So Rajab. Whenever you became owner of sufficient amount of wealth, you became sahib al-nisab. We'll go into that next week. Then you have to pay zakah on that day. Yeah, that's how you calculate your zakah anniversary or zakah day. It may fall in the month of Ramadan. It may not fall in the month of Ramadan.
Jazakallah, Shaykh. There's one more question on the chat. I think you covered it before at a Jummah reminder, but it says, asks, please can you tell me if it's possible to pray Taraweeh at home, and if so, how? Also, can someone pray Taraweeh on their own at home?
Yeah, Bismillah. So, of course, in a praying Taraweeh, individually at home, according to some scholars, is more rewarding than praying in the mosque, the month of Ramadan. So, but obviously you are allowed, with your family, obviously, you are allowed to pray Taraweeh on your own, in your houses. This was the action or the activity that the Prophet done in the month of Ramadan while he was alive. So you are allowed to pray Taraweeh on your own or with your family. As I said, if you are not able to read vast amounts of the Quran, you have not memorized, then you can hold the Mus'haf, the Quran, or you can hold your phone and you open the Quran app and you read like that, and that will be allowed as long as you keep the movements to the bare minimum, right? In terms of following the Imam via the internet, there have been a lot of discussions online regarding this. Some scholars have said only Taraweeh, not Jummah, no other prayers, only Taraweeh, then you are allowed to follow the Imam. But the vast majority of the scholars in the UK and all over the world is that is not allowed, because that goes against certain principles within Islam in terms of what constitutes their jama'ah, what constitutes their congregation. So my personal opinion is that it should be avoided because it's a doubtful matter. it should be avoided. And pray on your own as much as you can. Pray with your family members, inshallah.
Jazakallah, Shaykh. I don't think there's any more questions coming through on the chat. Let me just check this.
You've got a question. If the Greenwich Observatory Moon Sighting Society say the moon has not been sighted in the Western world, it's fully sightable on 24, how do the masjids decide? That is a good question, but there is a question that many scholars have debated, are discussing, and I'm not sure whether we will come to a resolution anytime soon. So there are a number of ways we observe or we start the month of Ramadan or any other Islamic months. Number one is by sighting of the moon. So the physical naked sighting of the moon. So every month, at the end of the month, people will go out, and if they see the new crescent, the next day is the new month. The other way is the calculations. So you follow certain determined dates, and you go by that. There are so many other opinions. Some people, they follow local sighting, meaning sighting in the UK. Some people follow other countries like Saudi Arabia or South Africa or other countries. That's where the difficulty arises. So at the moment, today, Saudi Arabia, for example, they've announced that they've seen the moon. So many people in the UK, they will follow Saudi Arabia, and they will observe the Ramadan tomorrow. I'm not going into whether that's correct or not. I'm just stating a fact. Other people say no, look, it's not possible to sight the moon because of X, Y, and Z reason. They say no, this year we'll complete Sha'ban 30 days, and we will start the month of Ramadan on Saturday. So it's a long debate. It's a huge debate among the scholars, and debate is continuing. And as I said, I don't think it will be resolved anytime soon, but hopefully in the future we'll get something. We'll get a unified Ramadan, unified Eid, inshallah. There is a detailed guidance paper produced by the British Board of Scholars and Imams about this. So it outlines the different opinions and how people have come to the way that they choose in terms of observing the month of Ramadan. I can share that with Amir, and maybe if he has your email, you can email that to you later on, inshallah.
Okay, Jazakallah, Shaykh. I think we're probably coming to an end for this session. If there's no more questions, then I think we could wrap up with the dua. And then, as I said, if participants could just stay on for a little longer after dua to take the details down of the Ramadan donation appeal, which should appear on a short animation after the dua, inshallah.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala kareem wa ala alihi sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل صلاتنا وصيامنا وقيامنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our fasting and our qiyam and our Ramadan throughout the month of Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us to perform His deeds during the month of Ramadan to the best of our ability. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us, to keep us safe, to keep our family members safe, to keep our friends and neighbors and the entire humanity safe during this difficult coronavirus pandemic. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us to reach the Eid and celebrate with our friends, with our family members, inside the houses, inside the masajid, the houses of Allah سبحانه وتعالى. سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.